How's it going, everyone? I'm Vivi and welcome back to the channel. So, we got some brand new and Sane Trilogy footage. So with that being said, let's dive straight into it. Alright. Cortex Power is the 19th level, which is part of the second world from the first game. And as usual guys, the game is looking fantastic. What am I gonna say? Vicarious Visions is doing an awesome job. Now, what's actually cool about this new footage is that we have a side-to-side comparison. One thing I can already notice, right in the beginning we have a bunch of plants in the Sane Trilogy. Now, on the left in the classic version, we also do have plants, but in this gameplay, the player already advanced, so we can't really see what's in the beginning. But if we take a look at another screenshot, we do notice plants in the beginning. Now in the Sane Trilogy, they're much more noticeable and nice looking. The most noticeable difference when comparing the two are the colors. The colors in the Sane Trilogy look a lot brighter, and I actually like it. Some people prefer the old, darker scheme, but I really like the new design, how it looks. Now a great example of this bright and dark are the heated pipes and frozen pipes. You can definitely notice how in the Sane Trilogy everything looks brighter. And it's crazy to think how far we've come. Look at the vaults on the wall. They're actually there compared to the vaults which were simply painted on the wall. Yes, I know we're comparing PS1 and PS4, but I'm just saying, you're playing a game which you played when you were a kid. To play it again on the PS4, looking exactly the same layouts and all that, it is sick. Now sure, everything looks the same, but there is more detail in the Sane Trilogy. For example, notice the hazard on top of Cortex Power. These small little details are noticeable in the Sane Trilogy. Now if you carefully pay attention here, the crates are different. I don't know if this was intended. In the old game we had the bouncy crate, but in the new one we just have a regular one. Now sure, the colors look brighter, but the colors, they're the same overall. Main difference is the floor. In the Sane Trilogy there's a shade of blue. Now notice the two paths here. There's a lot of backtracking in Cortex Power. If you want to get the clear gem, you'll have to go back and forth. And there are 3 different routes to reach the end. Here's another very noticeable difference. The stairs. In the old game it was a slope. This time we have actual stairs. Now let me pause the game right here. Aku, notice the feathers. Someone on Reddit pointed out that one of the feathers, instead of red, is orange, which pretty much tells us that they went with the Twin Sanity design for Aku. Next thing we encounter, the machine gunner. Difference is obvious. Guns which look like white sticks versus actual guns. You can definitely see the difference. Now about the laugh when you hit this enemy. It sounds like Crash laughing maniacally, right? And talking about Crash, his voice actor is Jess Harnell. Now Jess Harnell apparently will also voice Pinstripe Potoru, who's the 4th boss in the game, in Crash Bandicoot, the first game. So listening to the machine gunner's laugh, that's definitely Crash's voice actor. Last thing I want to mention, notice the hallway. In the old one it's pretty dark. In the Sane Trilogy, it looks brighter. Everything just looks brighter in the Sane Trilogy, and I like it. Not everyone is a fan, but honestly Vicarious Visions is doing an awesome job. And plus guys, we're getting the 3 classic games remade. Out of all this, that's what gets me the most excited. Just to think of that idea actually coming to reality. Sure, not everyone is a fan of the new voice actors, but Crash is owned by Activision. The fact that Activision said yes and made a deal with Sony to bring back the 3 classic games onto the PS4, it is something. And if they do the same thing to Spyro, then that'd be sweet. Here's a little extra I want to add. Well, actually this isn't the last part of the video, I have other stuff to say as well, but here's other footage from the Sane Trilogy. This was released a few days ago. Boulder Dash, which first appears on the second island from the first game. And this footage guys, it's like 10 seconds. It's very little. What we can notice, major differences, we're inside an actual tree trunk in the beginning. You can tell this time. And like usual, it's looking lovely. And again, as always, same layout, more detail, for example more plants, instead of just grass. So with that being said guys, let's move on to a different topic. What is this whole thing with Uncharted: The Lost Legacy? It's a standalone game. And according to the Game Informer article, the team had thought of working on Uncharted 5 originally, you know, to slowly get into it, but that didn't happen. And why? Because the team already was busy with The Last of Us 2, which is going to be a big game, I'm assuming. Their initial plan, if I'm not mistaken, was to make a simple expansion to Uncharted 4, but then they told themselves, no, we want to make something a bit bigger. At that point, they were like, okay, let's make a standalone game from the get-go, something bigger than Left Behind, which originally was released as an expansion expansion pack in 2014, and they re-released it as a standalone title in 2015. For those wondering about the length of The Lost Legacy, here's an old quote, which you can find on the PlayStation Lifestyle website. So, a quote from Naughty Dog. Years ago, when we were asked if we were ever doing a single-player expansion for Uncharted, we always said, well, we don't have the self-discipline to do that. If we tried to do that, we'd create a full game. There's no way we could, sort of constrict and restrain ourselves. And that's exactly what was happening here. When we were doing story pitches, we were coming up with a game that would be over 10 hours long. And so we suddenly realized everything we said was true and we couldn't keep it short. So in summary, they felt like making a bigger game. They didn't want to leave it short, right? So we could expect 10 hours of gameplay. Well, for our first playthrough, at least. Once you understand the game, of course, you might finish it sooner. Now let me rephrase what I said before about the team wanting to work on an expansion pack originally. Well, that's the thing. They would do it, but like the quote said, they would just end up making something too huge to be considered an expansion DLC. So with that in mind, the team decided to make a standalone DLC. And honestly guys, I got very surprised. At first I thought The Lost Legacy would be a short game, but after reading articles and seeing this, 10 hours of gameplay, I'm like, okay, we might expect another actual decent length Uncharted game, a story which will focus on Chloe and Nadine. Now there are some pre-order bonuses. One is a Uncharted Lost Legacy dynamic theme, and the other will perhaps get some of you excited. Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, as a free download. By pre-ordering the game, you can download Jak and Daxter 1 for free on August 22nd. August 22nd is the day The Lost Legacy is getting released. Now the question is, when are the PS4 versions of Jak and Daxter going to get released? They're still stated for 2017, so we don't know. I'm gonna go with assumption. Since we're getting the game for free on August 22nd, perhaps the PS4 versions will get released maybe a few weeks before. Now we're talking about emulations, games which will be put into the PS2 classics on the PS Store. And for those wondering, yes, Uncharted The Lost Legacy will be available digitally and physically. You can pre-order whichever version you want. One little detail I'd like to add before I end the video, for the Jak and Daxter PS4 versions, like I said, they're being emulated, so no, we won't have physical copies. And again, we're talking about 4 games, Jak 1, Jak 2, Jak 3, and Jak X. So yeah guys, thanks for watching, hopefully you found this information useful. So as usual, if you have any thoughts, leave everything in the comments section below. And as always, I've been VV, and thanks for watching.